It's time for Screen Junkies Movie Fights.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Movie Fights, hashtag Movie Fights Live. Guess what? We're not live. We're coming to you pre-recorded, but it's still going to have most of the fun that you're used to. And a shout out to hashtag Owl Nation. This is hashtag Percival the Owl. Hoot hoot. This is a very special fight, you guys. With the release of Aquaman, we're going to get pretty wet today. That sounded weird, but we're taking a deep dive. We're getting in the water, and these are all aquatic fights. Let's meet our ocean dwellers for today. First off, he is a man familiar with log flumes and
good, yeah.
what other
raft rides.
Raft rides. You can hear all about
parks.
this. He's got a very exciting, fun podcast called Podcast The Ride, where he talks all about amusement parks. Mike CARLSON, welcome to the party.
Hi, thank you for having me at the water party. I am excited to be here. Yes,
Have you covered a water park on Podcast The Ride?
We just, you know what? Thank you, Hal, for letting us plug, because on our Patreon exclusive episode this week, we covered Blizzard Beach, the wonderful Orlando Disney World water park. And it's great. And
check it out.
Yeah.
Next up, you know him from Honest Trailers, SJU, all over the place. Oh, and he's got a well-kempt beard today.
Well.
Joe
Wells
STARR.
are full of water.
Yes.
I see what you did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Get that bucket.
After we're done, can I just ask Mike to rank Lazy Rivers?
Oh, that's good.
After we're done with the whole thing, or now?
Yeah. No, we don't have to.
Okay, all right.
Do we include
yep.
resorts, though?
Maybe later in the show. I don't know if we include resorts, but we include on today's panel one of the hosts of Everything's Coming Up Simpsons on the Max Fun Network, Simpsons-related podcast, and she's just one of the premier Simpsons enthusiasts and super fun lady, Julia Prescott.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, yeah. Pleasure. And a lot of people were talking about you and Mike have a nice little Botanicus fandom and connection there.
I was unaware, but it makes sense because I feel like if I didn't have a Simpsons podcast, I would probably try and have a theme park podcast too. So
right
either
on.
we're best friends or mortal enemies, but we'll see at the end of today's fight.
Well, you will be in battle in
Forced
all
to choose
aquatic
between the two.
movie fights. And deciding the
gonna be a real
fate
sea
of
change.
these brave... Oh, nicely done. A real sea change. Deciding the fate of these brave combatants will be myself and the Dan Cam. Welcome to the party, Dans. Dan Murrell checking the facts,
Yes,
our
indeed.
reigning movie fights champion. Let me ask you this:
Yes.
Do you, being the champion, as you check facts, does that ever creep in? How do you keep that out of your purview as far as checking facts and deciding the judging?
I mean, I think that I very clearly recused myself, Hal, when I feel I have a conflict of interest. Otherwise, I want everyone to play to their full potential because a true champion wants to play the best, Hal.
You know what? Sportsmanship, fair play, Dan Murrell, thank you so much. And the voice of the people, but today she is voicing her own opinions, Danielle Radford.
Yeah, so today I am. There are no polls because this is pre-taped, but please keep the discussion going on Movie Fights Live. Y'all come up with some of the greatest memes and answers. I love going through all of those, and I love the way that you guys all talk to each other during the shows. So please continue to do that throughout the show, and I will be checking that out. So
Awesome, Danielle.
future me, not me now. Me later.
But you can still tweet corgis to Danielle Radford during the show, even though we're not live. Okay.
It's true. You can
Always.
still send me corgis.
Yes.
At any time.
Yes. Please send memes. And what do you say we dive in and get this started? JTE, drop that package.
Prepare to die.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's main event time.
Thank you, Thor. All right. So again, this is 4 points to take the victory today, 3 regular round questions, and then the top 2 performers will continue on to the speed round, where it's anybody's game. You can be down 3-0 and come storm right back in the speed round. Here is question number 1. Besides Jaws, what's the best movie set at sea? Besides Jaws. Best movie set at sea. And question 1, start with player 1, Mike CARLSON.
Ahoy!
Oh no.
I'd like to choose a movie that tells a whale of a tale. Oh no. I am talking about, I'm being completely serious. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the 1954 Walt Disney classic. This, folks, is an exciting movie, a thoughtful movie, a movie with a giant rubber squid battle. It is exciting. Now, that seems silly, but it's not. It's fun. It's exciting. It's what everyone loves. Giant practical puppets, all right? This movie, my goodness, it has, the sets are amazing. The design, the Nautilus is an iconic ship. And let's be honest, folks, it has the most important thing any movie should have: grizzled character actors. Alcohol-soaked character actors that drink while they're acting. They look bad, but it only adds to their character. It makes it feel more real. It makes this whole situation seem more dire. James Mason, Kirk Douglas, and my favorite, Peter Lorre. I don't talk on Movie Fights enough about Peter Lorre. If you don't know about him, he sounds like this. He sounds like Ren from Ren and Stimpy. He's incredible, folks. You can't take your eyes off this weird little man. This is an underappreciated classic. People don't talk about it enough. There's so many theme park rides based on it, some gone, some still there. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, it's amazing.
All right, 20,000 Leagues. Joe Starr.
I'm going to pick another movie that was going to have a theme park attraction attached to it, but that did not end up happening, much to Disney's not chagrin. They probably don't regret that it didn't happen, but they should have done it. They lost out creatively. I'm talking about Atlantis, The Lost Empire. This is a little movie, a little underloved, underrated movie from Disney where they tried to get out of the musical business and tried to step into the world of PG animation. Tried to bring in some of those teen boys for an adventure that I'll describe as one part Stargate, one part good version of Avatar, but underwater. It's a really great movie. It's a super fun cast. Michael J. Fox, great voice actor, sort of leads the whole thing. It's a Jules Verne-inspired tale, because you can't really do underwater without repping the Verne. But more than that, instead of a normal Disney house style, they actually adapted the visual style of Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, which I think was a really cool, visually sort of brave move from Disney. Instead of just doing a generalized, like, how will this end up looking in Disney Infinity someday, giving it its own, like, really cool style. Atlantis in this movie is really creative and inventive. It has its own language. The action scenes are great. There's a really cool giant robotic squid fight. It's a fun movie.
All right, Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Julia Prescott.
I'm so excited to talk about my entry into this question today. I'm, of course, here to talk about Muppet Treasure Island. Now, this is the second entry into what I will call the Muppets in the mid-90s, the mid to late 90s. They were back, baby. We all remember the, three 70s and 80s Muppet movies that sort of established them in the feature film category. This is them. They're newer. They've got new characters. They've got fresh music. Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack, the score. Same shit. To Muppet Treasure Island, we've got Tim Curry in there. Tim Curry, peak Curry. This is when he was, trying to be more of a family-friendly Tim Curry. Around this time is when he also co-starred in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, as we all recall. Mm-hmm. It makes you feel good. Let me be real. The ocean is scary, right? A lot of the movies that we say about the ocean, make it seem like a scary place. Jaws is in the question, that being like the leading example. But the ocean is most of the planet Earth, so we shouldn't be scared of it. We should be approaching it with comedies, with feel-good family entertainment, and you really don't get better than the Muppets. I think I've said everything that I want to about this topic. Back to you, Hal.
Maybe say a little more, because it's time to fight it out.
Oh, okay.
Look, here's the thing, Hal. You watch these other two movies and they're fine movies, but do any of the actors in those movies seem drunk? No. This is a movie where you can feel the reality of being underwater at sea, which is bleak and desolate. These people, the actors didn't go and have a 3-martini lunch in a Burbank.
So I just want to clarify. You're saying that the actors are drunk while they're acting in the movie. They're not just alcoholics outside of the set.
I'm saying all of that. All of that.
All the above.
All
okay.
of the above. I'm
Noted.
just saying that this this gives this a reality. This gives us an edge over these other two movies. That's what I'm saying.
I will say that you only like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea because of the theme park connection.
It's certainly a big part of it. I'm not going to deny that. But
you said the words exciting several times in
Yes,
your
I did.
description of this movie,
Yes.
but I feel like the only exciting part is the squid part, which is all of how many minutes on screen?
5 minutes or so.
I would
6
say
minutes.
that is a generous 5
I
minutes. I
think-
think it's actually 2 minutes.
Maybe it is 2 minutes.
That's
I don't
like
know
one
exactly.
really good YouTube video.
Yeah.
But this is, I find thoughtfulness exciting, okay? And that's what this movie is. It's thoughtful. So when I say exciting, I don't necessarily mean just like whiz, pow, bang, punching. I mean thoughtful in its things that it has to say about America and the world.
What was your favorite part of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea that was non-squid related? Can
Oh.
you quote a quote from the film?
Well, a whale of a tale certainly is my favorite. One of my favorite parts when Kirk Douglas gets to sing that fun song on a ship. That's pretty great.
That's a good shanty.
That's a pretty great,
That is,
great scene.
that's a good shanty. The only thing I can really counter the they were drunk on set with is the power of a voiceover actor being able to choose whether or not to wear pants. They get to perform very comfortably. They might be sober, but they're also very comfortable, whether they're in sweats or they're just in their pajamas or a robe. You know, Michael J. Fox got to just come into this thing, maybe have a drink after, but definitely was comfortable in his performance, if not completely hammered.
So are you saying that they're recording these from home, just wearing sweatpants or whatever, or they're going into work
Or
just
they're
wearing
going
a
into
bathrobe?
Burbank, wearing whatever. Why not?
Driving
it's a
into
voiceover
Disney
gig.
Burbank wearing a bathrobe.
Yeah, Michael
Okay.
J. Fox pulls that kind of weight. I think he went back in time before.
I would say that Muppet Treasure Island has a similar kind of thing for the voiceover actors for the Muppets in the film, that they have that sort of ease. I want to say a couple more things about this movie. 91% of Google users loved this movie.
Oh, Google
I
users.
think that we can all agree that Google users are what makes the world go round. It's a remake. Remakes are great. Everybody loves a remake because it's a fresh take on a beloved franchise. As I mentioned, Hans Zimmer did the score for it, which makes it very legit. And I also read on the Wikipedia page that the end credit song "Love Power" by Ziggy Marley featured Muppets with dreads, and who could argue with that? That is just like, we're thinking about that Kermit Kokomo video. We're thinking about, how we ourselves maybe want dreads.
But I want to make sure that Kokomo is not in Muppets Treasure Island. You're
Right.
trying to draw a comparison with a great music video, and I think we just need to make sure.
It is by the same production company, so you would say that it is sort of in its own Marvel universe of
I wouldn't say
goodness.
that.
I mean, I
wouldn't
wouldn't
say
argue
that.
Bow as a part of my argument for Incredibles 2 just because it opened in front of it. So,
But Bow is still good. I mean, that's a different argument for a different day. I would say that there are no other sea comedies in this area except for maybe Down Periscope or McHale's Navy, which were not two great examples of this. And not
Overboard.
since Splash have we seen the ocean depicted in such a lighthearted
there
manner.
are some good laughs in Atlantis: The Lost Empire. There is a stereotypical.
At it or with it?
With it. No, definitely with it. There is a stereotypical French bomber who is hilarious. He's obsessed with blowing things up, and he's very stereotypically from another country. He's super fun, has some great laughs. Those are the only ones coming to mind, so maybe I can't go toe-to-toe with you comedy-wise. But again, giant mechanical squid, that's a great sequence. This is Disney starting to merge sort of CG with their hand-drawn animation for the first time. More than that, just when was the last time Disney did something brave?
Great. Let's shift gears here.
movie
We'll move to final thoughts, and they did brave. Yes. Bam. Question
Swished it.
answered. Nicely done, Prescott. When they do something brave, they did brave. Let's go into final thoughts. And I want to hear, we've heard a lot about what makes it fun, what makes your movie just a super good time. I want to hear what makes it a good film as well. And sum up your choices. Start with Mike.
Well, I want to quickly just say that these other two movies are not memorable. They've not lasted in the popular culture like elements of 20,000 Leagues. People know the Nautilus. People know the giant squid. I had to Google who was even in Atlantis. I could not remember the plot of Muppets Treasure Island, which I couldn't.
It's Treasure Island.
Which
But
is
with Muppets.
Treasure Island. That's how unmemorable it was, because it made me forget the plot of Treasure Island, the famous plot. But 20,000 Leagues is about something. Captain Nemo has bloodlust. He wants to prevent the world from going to war, but while he's trying to prevent the world, he makes it worse. He makes he makes fighting happen. He makes bloodshed happen. And that is a point about the American government and military-industrial complex. And I think this movie is actually saying something, whereas these other two movies are just light fluff.
All right. Thank you, Mike Carlson. Joe Starr.
You know, a big part of Atlantis: The Lost Empire revolves around, the argument of preserving something and letting it sort of live on its own to thrive, or exploiting it, specifically exploiting the powers within to sell them to the Kaiser of Germany at the dawn of World War I. So that's kind of a military-industrial complex thing. I think Atlantis has a really good blend. They blend action and also just sort of like thoughtful adventure, if that makes any sense, really, really well. There's a couple of big action scenes, but it doesn't rely on them. It's really a very like character and moral-driven movie. The designs are really great. Milo and the princess, who's probably one of the best princesses in Disney. She's very, very underrated. I think she's great. She has a very cool design. They're very cool performances. They also have a lot of chemistry together. And as far as animated characters to have a crush on go, you can't do that's a pretty good duo to have a crush on. They're very good-looking animated characters.
All right, Joe Starr crushing on those animated characters. Julia Prescott.
Okay, so I just want to say up top that there's no such thing as chemistry in an animated film because that is forced through the storyboard artists, and just want to get that out of the gate. So I just want to say about Muppet Treasure Island, everybody loves a Muppet movie because they mix a family-friendly sort of environment and a feel with irreverent humor. They play to the adults as much as they play to the kids. I would say that this is entirely memorable. Again, as I mentioned, it is during their mid to late 90s resurgence of Muppet movies, and the music is very catchy, and I feel like it did humanize Tim Curry quite a bit, especially after his take as the lead in It during the 90s. So this was a good turn for him that kind of got him nestled into that area. I would say that Muppet Treasure Island, this came out in 1996, predated Titanic. Who held the door for who, you guys? Who held the door for who? And I also want to say that, this movie also featured a young ingenue by the name of Kevin Clash, who later went on to Elmo fame. He did mostly, and he has been since disgraced, but at the time of this movie, the filmmakers, Frank Oz, he was like, I'm only one man, I can't do all of the typical characters that I do in a Muppet movie, so in order to make the film better so that he wasn't stretching himself too thin, he brought on Kevin Clash, who did some of Miss Piggy and some of the other Frank Oz characters, and I think it made it better in the end. Again, we didn't know what we didn't know back then, but I think that it did make it for a better movie.
Right, pre-disgrace.
Yeah, pre-disgrace is the area I want to live in.
Time. All right. Shouldn't we all live in the blessed area of pre-disgrace?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? How about no disgrace? Because pre-disgrace indicates there would be disgrace coming.
I'd watch Muppet Titanic. That
Dan
would be really good.
Murrell, factually, what do you got for us?
Oh, looking at so many different things.
Oh, yeah, man.
Kevin Clash had been associated with the Muppets for a while. He'd been doing Elmo. He'd been on Sesame Street a little bit, but
That's a different camp than Muppets proper, though.
I think that's debatable, but I don't want to get bogged down in Muppet lore. The soundtrack versus score, it's weird. It's sort of like a square rectangle question, which is that score is the instrumental music that's written directly for a film.
Right.
And it is part of the soundtrack, but the soundtrack is not the score. So I think it's not necessarily the same thing. There are slight differences. And Muppet Treasure Island, Mike was correct. Muppet Treasure Island does not have Kokomo. However, there is a Muppet version of Kokomo and a music video that was released in 1988 as part of the Muppet Beach Party album. So
is John Stamos also in that music video?
No, he's not, unless he is doing the
it.
Muppeteering for Fozzie Bear or one of the...
There's also, possibly on the same album, might be on a different one, Jimmy Buffett teams up with Kermit to sing Caribbean Amphibian.
Why?
Wow.
So I just want to let everyone know.
We already knew.
Dan, any info on whether or not James Mason and Peter Lorre were actually in 12-step programs or alcoholics?
Well, I don't want to get sued by the estates of either, so I'm not going to definitively work as a fact checker and tell you whether or not that is true, because I don't have money for a lawyer, Hal.
All right, noted, and I hear you on that.
Yeah, I'm only a lawyer on SJU. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
All right, Daniel Radford, why don't we start off with your thoughts on this battle?
Oh, these are all fantastic arguments, but when it came to just getting them knocked up and knocking them down, one person came to win today, and that is Julia Prescott. Just every argument she was sniping. So Julia wins this round for me easily.
Yeah, you know what, I'm tending to agree. Like, I feel just as far as bullet points there, as far as like the number of things that she liked from the film, and as far as just witty parries and retorts, Julia was really on point. Mike had a lot of great stuff, but it was a lot of fun stuff around the film that less posited how great the film was, and more just like, oh, look at this cool lore surrounding this film. And I feel like Joe painted a great case for me wanting to like revisit this kind of forgotten Disney film, but Julia, I feel, knocked it out of the park. So I'm going with Julia. Julia takes the first point.
Finally.
Also, I just want to, like, I think it would be remiss of me not to note there are so many choices from the golden era of Hollywood of seafaring movies. I just wrote down a few that came to mind. A Night to Remember, the first Titanic movie, Lifeboat, the actual Titanic, Captain Blood, the Kane Mutiny, Mutiny on the Bounty.
Master and Commander, I love Master and
Commander.
It's such a great
Yeah.
We
movie.
love what we love. We accept the love we think
love
we deserve.
what we love. And what about Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn and Overboard?
I know, but they're not really on the ocean
Yeah, they're on
for very
land a lot.
long. Yeah.
There's some land loving.
But I considered that in my argument.
Right on. But good stuff, and yeah,
By the way, Jimmy Buffett and Kermit the Frog duetted on Caribbean Amphibian in the TV special Elmo Palooza. So it's not part of the Muppet Beach Party
Why do
album.
you keep showing me things that are going to upset me today, Dan?
I'm sorry.
He showed me Kermit and Dreads, and I will never be the same.
Oh my God.
They used to play that on the Disney Channel as interstitials for years.
I mean, is that like just like weirdly awful appropriation?
It's questionable at best, Hal.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Ziggy Marley's there. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
Kermit's definitely the guy in your Psych 101 class in that music video. Like the guy you just don't want to follow into a parking lot.
He's going through a really cool phase in college.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? It's 1-0 Julia. Joe, Mike, looking to get on the board. Let's hit
treading water.
Here, I love it. Here we go. Keep those water puns coming. Question number 2.
Steady flow.
Steady flow.
Who is the greatest sea captain in any movie? Question number 2. We'll start with player number 2, Mr. Joe Starr.
How, when I think of this question, I think of two things. How can I, it's not just who's the best sea captain, but it's also how can I best disappoint Dan today? And how, the best way I can think of to disappoint Dan is to completely whiff this round on an attempt to argue Quint from Jaws. Look, there are a lot of important things to consider when considering what makes the best sea captain. It's not necessarily does he live, because the sea is a dangerous place, as we've already established in this fight, but it's about are you willing to just get in there and look the sea in the face and just tell it to eat your butt because you don't care about it. And Quint is the embodiment of telling the ocean to just eat your butt. There's also a salt factor, Hal. How salty is your sea captain? And I defy these two to find a saltier dog than a man who starts a conversation with a group of people by just clawing his fingers down a chalkboard and just reminding them that he doesn't need to introduce himself because, damn it, he's Quint. Y'all know him. Y'all know what he do. Again, this is a guy who has not necessarily thrived in the ocean, but he just keeps surviving. He keeps cheating death because the ocean may or may not be, in fact, scared of him, Quint.
Thank you for that, and I love how salty is your sea captain.
Mm-hmm.
That could be like the catchphrase for a rum.
Yeah,
How salty is your sea captain? Thank you, Joe Starr. Quint from Jaws. Julia.
All right, so I'm arguing Captain Phillips, of course, the titular character from the Tom Hanks film, Captain Phillips, which I might add was nominated for a great deal of Oscars the year that it came out. Yes, I agree that Quint is a very salty sea captain, but I feel like we've got the salty sea captain down. We need something a little bit more optimistic. I think what appeals to the larger audience of people that come to, sea war kind of movies, I'm just gonna invent that genre now, is that we want to put ourselves into the narrative. We want to feel like we could save a ship of crew and a commercial, loading ship, and we could be Tom Hanks in this, and I feel like he is the everyman. I also feel like he's all of our dads, and we love our dads, so that's what I'm voting for. Captain Phillips is the best sea captain.
All right, I know I often feel like I want to save a commercial loading ship. Mike Carlson.
All right, I like to choose my sea captains like America likes to choose their president. What sea captain would I have a beer with? Who would I want to hang out with in a bar? That's why my answer is, of course, Captain Ron, the greatest sea captain of all time. Kurt Russell, look at him. He's glorious. He has those, he had braids in his hair? I mean, he is wonderful. This is Captain Fun Dad, folks. This is a guy who will buy you beer, whether you're underage, whether you're overage, it doesn't matter. He's buying you beer. You're sitting out on a boat with him. He's got a little transistor radio. He's playing Caribbean Amphibian by Jimmy Buffett and Kermit the Frog on it. It is a cool vibe. You're having a great time. It is, look, we can get captains that are good at driving a ship, whatever do you call it, driving a ship? Is that what you call a boat? Piloting a ship, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Let's stay in the dock. Let's crack open a six-pack. Let's listen to some fun stuff on the radio. Captain Ron, the greatest sea captain of all time.
All right, fight it out, captains.
I prefer a captain who won't drink something unless it's from a flask. That's what a real sea captain does.
And not a big gulp cup?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be saved by a sea captain. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I don't feel like Captain Ron can save us when he can't even get a bank loan. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you're having a problem, a row with your old lady, and he can save you by having a couple beers with you and telling you how life is and what he's going through.
How
that can
he
save a man's life.
He doesn't know what life is because he's just out to sea. He's got the sun baking into his brain. He doesn't know
But that
what's
makes
up
him
from
so
down.
much more wise. In a lot of ways, the sea is more real life than land.
I feel like Ron is the guy that flunked out of ship captain school.
He absolutely did.
And
That's
now he's just off doing his
100%
own thing.
fact. That's great.
Whereas Quint didn't even bother going to sea captain school, and sea captain school was like, I get it. We're sort of talking about if you want to talk about having a row with your old lady, Quint has the all-time greatest, hey bros, let's just sit down and solve these old lady rows. Like that's the ultimate, let's sit down with the guys and hash out some shit scene.
I want to say that Captain Ron is an easy choice, but Captain Phillips is the thinking man's choice, right? Because it's very easy to look very cool with a tan and a puka shell necklace and braids, but it is very hard.
Easier than you think.
It is very hard to look badass in a polo shirt that is stained, and he's got weird lens crafters on, and he manages to make it work.
First of all, it's very easy to drive a boat. Let's get that out of the way right here.
I
It is
will admit,
not
I
hard
drove a boat when I was
to
9 years
drive
old.
a
You are
boat.
correct, yes.
So Captain Phillips, is whether he looks cool, which I disagree. Nothing is cooler than Kurt Russell. We're all having Kurt Russell fever. He's Santa Claus, but we forget he was Captain Ron first. He was a shirtless man. He was the original Captain Jack Sparrow, the better Captain Jack Sparrow.
Do you honestly think that Captain Ron could pull a move where he witnesses one of the Somali pirates does not have shoes, and then he very inconspicuously messages the rest of his crew, who they do not know is still on the goddamn ship, and he tells them, break glass and scatter it around so that this Somali pirate can get bloody so that they can change the dynamic?
I think Quint would drown those pirates in chum. He would just and just give
Does
him
he have stock in chum?
A nice old-fashioned ocean strangle where he just it'd be handled. It'd be a short film.
Everybody
if Quint was in
wants
charge
Dad
of
to
that
win,
boat.
and my daddy's gonna win.
Captain Ron, though, he would pull out a bag and he goes, "You guys get high?" And they get high. Everyone gets high, and they would get high with him, and the crisis would have been averted. No hijinks would have had to gone down.
I want to refresh the panel's memory. Do you remember soccer practice, waiting for your parents to pick you up, and it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, it feels fucking crushing, like you've been forgotten. Captain Ron would not be bothered to pick us up from soccer practice. I just want to let you guys know that.
You guys are having a weird daddy fight, so let me push.
Welcome back to Weird Daddy Fights.
Let me push this a little further. Quint is the sexy granddaddy. This is let's just break through the mold and just go
bad, dirty grandpa.
Yeah, just Mr. Q, Captain Q right here. Again, this guy went. He's not a poser like Captain Ron. If the moment came where Captain Ron had to go down with his ship or get eaten by a shark, Captain Ron would just like throw puka shells at the shark and run for his life. Quint was like, okay, bring it. I argue that Quint was not killed by that shark. He is alive. He survived it. There's no way a mere shark could kill Quint.
That seems like a silly thing to argue.
Well, Quint, as you said, looked the sea in the face and said, I believe, eat my butt.
Yes.
My butt?
Yes,
okay.
it did.
Okay.
And it did eat his butt.
I wanted to make sure. Captain Phillips looked a Somali pirate in the face and his crew and basically said, eat my butt. And I would say that a face-to-face versus face-to-ocean encounter is much more difficult.
Mike, did Captain Ron say eat my butt to anything?
Who ate Captain Ron's butt, Mike?
A ton of different ladies and probably men as well. He probably has had his butt eaten at sea plenty of times.
All right.
Because
Dan, fact check that,
he's
please.
fluid.
Right. But that wasn't a dangerous, harrowing experience.
You don't
for him.
know
That
some
was
of the
just a
people he was
Tuesday.
hooking up with. It was probably a dangerous situation.
Not that he cared about it, though.
You know what? Let's shift gears into our final thoughts here. Joe, start us off with your quintessential final thoughts on Quint.
You know, I think Quint checks a lot of boxes here. You know, just because of how long he was at sea with the armed forces and otherwise, I think he's probably also a very sexually fluid gentleman, just as much as Captain Ron. Again, just in terms of pure saltiness and grittiness, you know, this is a man who's not even wearing real clothes. Those are barnacles that have just sort of shaped themselves into a work shirt and hat. This guy is a part of the sea. He was born in the sea, he was raised by the sea, and to the sea he returned, did Quint. He is the best at singing drunk sea shanties. He would never sing a song that is about anything not ocean related. He takes a bunch of landlubbers and turns them into real sailors in like a day. That's pretty impressive. And then when the sea comes to take him home, he doesn't hesitate. He just gets eaten by it. Quint.
Thank you, Joe Starr. Julia Prescott.
Thank you. I would say a measure of a true hero is someone who does not step into a situation anticipating heroism to be called upon them. He was a merchant mariner, you guys. By the way, this is based on a true story, so I would say that is already winning my argument. Okay. But he just thought that he was going into another basic job. His life on the high seas is very boring, and that's the way he likes it. He never thought that he would have to face off with terrorists like the Somali pirates, but he did, and he succeeded. And lest we forget, one of the best lines that has ever emerged from cinema history, I'm the captain now. We all said it, and we'll all say it again. It was the wife of that year. And it also took a cab driver to stardom, and he went to the Oscars and he had a great time.
All right. Thank you, Julia. Mike.
Folks, Quint is a fun character, but let's be honest. If you're hanging out with Quint, he's going to have post-traumatic stress, and you'll find him strangling you in the middle of the night. That is what's going to happen. Captain Phillips to hang out with. This is a guy who's uptight. He probably has paperwork to fill out. It gets very tedious. He's a by-the-book kind of a guy. He's not going to let you drink beer on the deck. He's not going to let you hang off the anchor like fun. He's not going to let you do some crazy dives. He doesn't like that. He's uptight. Captain Ron, first of all, I want to remind everyone, easy to drive a boat. It doesn't matter. These guys can drive a boat all day long. I can do it. I've never done it. I'm sure I can do it. It's not hard. So that part is taken care of. He's equal with these two choices, all right? But this sea is a lonely place. The sea can get very cold and you can forget. But you need a person there with you that is fun and is entertaining. And this is Captain Ron. This is his MO, baby. Captain Ron, the best sea captain of all time.
All right, time. There you have it. Wow, 3 pretty different captains. Dan Murrell, where are we on facts?
Captain Phillips was nominated for 6 Oscars. Ironically, no nomination for Tom Hanks.
Yeah, no
who played
Hanks.
Captain Phillips.
He's more about getting a career Oscar nom.
He is.
And win.
We'll go with that. The word I did a search of the scripts from all of the films. The word "butt" does not appear in any of the mentioned films. So if they told the sea to eat their butt, it did not happen on screen.
Spiritually.
I will say that Joe made a bit of a miscalculation because if my job's to be the fact checker and you're talking about Quint, then get ready for some Quint facts because here we go.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Quint
He
facts.
doesn't say y'all know me, you know what I do. It's y'all know me, you know how I earn a living. Joe said that he wouldn't want to be with a guy who didn't drink anything out of a flask. Quint famously drinks beer out of a can and he drinks liquor from a cup, but drinks nothing from a flask in the movie Jaws. Quint was in the Navy, which you could arguably count as sea captain school. And Matt Hooper... You said he took a couple of landlubbers on the board and turned them shipshape in a couple of days. Matt Hooper was not a landlubber. As a matter of fact, he was a member of the Oceanographic Institute with a boat of his own, so that is also inaccurate. Therefore, I have to disqualify Joe on facts alone.
Wow.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's awesome
Fair.
as you were rattling off that list, Dan. You have your Jaws cell phone case sticking out of your pocket, so
Yes,
it's like
I do.
I am here from the Jaws Official Society.
Listen, I see what
tear you a
Joe's
new
trying
one.
to do, but you got to get ready. If you know that I'm checking the facts, you got to bring the facts.
No, I hear you.
Dan.
He already played he showed his cards by saying he was going to disappoint you.
Yes.
Well, and
Dan,
he did.
noted Jaws enthusiast. All right, Dan. Let's keep your voyage going. Go
Yes.
ahead and give us your thoughts on this.
So obviously it was between
round.
Mike and Julia for me, and Julia had me going for most of the fight. I've got to be honest, but I thought Mike fought back very well against the slams on Captain Ron. And then I really felt that his closing argument encapsulated why his was the best choice all around. So my vote would go to Mike and would go to Captain Ron.
Boom. One for Captain Ron. Julia, I felt like when you, in your closing argument to include "I'm the captain now," that was someone taking your captain's mantle from him. Like, that doesn't help. That's like for the movie.
But that stoked the flame for him to rise up like a phoenix from the ashes and become the hero that he was always meant to be. If he didn't have
the
that...
round is over.
I know.
But I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate those
where you're coming
thoughts.
from.
Yeah.
Mike, I thought you made a great argument for a cool uncle. But the question was greatest sea captain, and Dan, you really the specificity and the accuracy of some of his statements are called into question. But the flask, some of the verbiage that doesn't remove from my mind that he laid out some powerful arguments for Quint just being a captain who has a history, a captain who gave himself to the sea when the time came. That was that really spoke to me. And the question here is greatest sea captain. I felt like Mike painted a picture of a fun captain. I felt Julia painted a picture of a workmanlike captain. But for me, despite those factual inaccuracies as far as some of the specifics, the meat of the argument was still there from what I heard from Joe. So a couple of the side dishes changed, but the meat of the argument still won me over for Captain Quint. Danielle, where you stand?
I absolutely have to agree with you. I think that Joe's arguments were laid out very well. Again, there were some of those inaccuracies, but he did still, even if one of them was an oceologist, which is a profession we have all learned today, he still, there was still one landlubber on there that he was able to teach, and I think Joe's argument stands, so I've got to go with Joe. Also, I did make the mistake of looking up Shark and Eat My Butt, and it turns out there is an episode of a show on IMDb called Eat My Butt Shark. So,
No.
Joe managed to accomplish what he set out to do, piss off Dan and get the
If
point.
I may.
Yes, please. Dan.
He did not give himself to. He was kicking and screaming. He was literally grabbing at every. He did not valiantly give himself to the sea.
Well, 'cause it still hurts.
That is a gross mischaracterization.
Okay,
He may have won you over with his argument, but that was rancid fish meat of an argument.
Oh!
It was not accurate. It was not accurate to the film. You can win with Quint, but not like that, Joe. You did, but I have no respect for your arguments.
Dan,
or your characterization of his role in the movie. It is not accurate to the film.
You didn't just manage to piss off Dan. You offended Dan's sacred beliefs.
You bought me this shirt for my birthday.
I did. And I'm glad that you like it.
Dan, don't ever change. I love it. I love it. So, Joe Starr, you get the point. Well played, good sir.
with that.
Wow.
So
A lot just happened.
yes, it did. Yes, it did. And rancid fish meat. Another that's a classic. I like how salty is your sea captain and rancid fish meat. So the score stands. Julia won. Joe won. Mike looking to get on the board. Let's go to question number 3. Here we go. Ooh, what movie would most be improved by adding Jason Momoa's Aquaman to the cast? So we can stay in the sea, we can get out of the sea, we can wherever we can go up in the air for all we know. All right, what movie most improved by adding Jason Momoa's Aquaman to the cast? And let's start with player number 3, Julia Prescott.
My answer for this question is, of course, The Shape of Water. What was last year's big Oscar hit from Guillermo del Toro. I loved The Shape of Water, but I had one question that was lingering after it. How does the fish feel about this relationship? We don't really know. It doesn't really pass. If there were a Bechdel test for just aquatic creatures, it doesn't really pass that. I feel like it is a one-way street. And he could be exclaiming, "I don't like this," for all we know. and we don't know. So my suggestion is adding Jason Momoa in there, maybe to give the fish character a little bit more of a backstory. It could be his cool cousin or his cool older brother. And it can kind of be like, yo, what's up? Like, he tells me, great things about you. Like, welcome to the family. You know how, like, when you're dating somebody early on, you meet the people in their circle, and it colors your vision of them, and you understand them a little bit more. That could give a little bit more of that gravity that I feel was so severely lacking from their romantic courtship. So that is my answer.
Great. Bechdel test for sea creatures. Mike Carlson.
The world is in crisis, Hal. Global warming is threatening us all, and no one is listening. And how are we going to do anything about it? Now, one man did try to do, he's released a sequel, but he tried like about 10-ish years ago to make a movie that would warn us, to tell us. This is Al Gore, and I'm talking about the movie An Inconvenient Truth. Folks, why didn't people listen to this movie? I would argue because it didn't have a bro-y character in it to relate to the common man. Al Gore is very stuffy, professorial. He is someone you don't listen to. If Aquaman, Jason Momoa Aquaman was an Inconvenient Truth, he would have warned us and we would have listened. I guarantee it. This would have changed the course of mankind. There's still time. There's still time to make An Inconvenient Truth, whatever it is, 3 with Aquaman in it, and he will adequately warn us, and we will all of a sudden go off carbon. We will do no coal, no oil, only green energy once Jason Momoa's Aquaman tells us to.
All right. Mike Carlson positing An Inconvenient Trilogy. Joe Starr.
This is a movie a lot of people like, but I just want to give it a little bit of extra oomph, make it a little more interesting, make it a little more exciting. I want to replace Scarlett Johansson with Jason Momoa's Aquaman in Lost in Translation. This is just cut her out right there and just put Momoa. Look, it's a great movie. It's well done, but at its core, the concept of a grumpy aging actor who is out of the country and away from his wife, getting horny for Scarlett Johansson is not like that interesting or an outfield thing. But replace her with Jason Momoa and an aging grumpy Bill Murray just lusting after this giant haka-dancing Hawaiian man who never wears shoes. And I'd use Jason Momoa and Aquaman because it's just Jason Momoa in a costume holding a trident. Like, there's no deep character acting going on. What you see is what you get. I think this improves the karaoke scene. I think it makes the whisper scene, it gives the whisper scene a lot more just levels. And I just think it's more interesting than a very glum Scarlett Johansson walking around Japan. It's just you get this guy who's like, "Whoa, bro, yeah, this is great. Bill Murray kissed my face." face. Like, I think that is a much more interesting movie.
All right, fight it out, y'all.
These are two absurd examples of an answer to this question. I just want to say out of the gate. And Joe, I will say that your argument is flimsy because I think that you're arguing more for Jason Momoa regular style instead of Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Oh, he's still Aquaman. Like, he still has superpowers. Like, he'll still be able to, like, he'll wrap his big beefy arms around Bill Murray and they'll jump very high to go to, like, a different bar that's maybe at the penthouse of another building in Tokyo. Cool stuff like that. And then Bill Murray can vary just sort of like, just undercut with deadpan reactions to this craziness.
Well, I think that you also lost your argument when you didn't name which song they would sing at karaoke when it is obviously Across the Sea by Weezer or Kokomo.
Well, it could be Kokomo.
All great options.
Look,
Yeah.
look. I have a lot of things to say about this Lost in Translation, but real quick about The Shape of Water. First of all, we don't know that Bro Aquaman is an ally. So we don't know.
True.
He is not the most woke character necessarily to tell us about consent. We don't know how he feels about Me Too. Who knows? I'm not just saying this is not a slam dunk that this movie is all of a sudden going to be less problematic by adding Bro Aquaman to it. You know?
I would say that just giving the fish character an additional voice box to provide more of a backstory to how we understand this fish character beyond being a specimen, which was the central argument of the film, that we are not to objectify.
Now, is he just giving
this
voice,
fish.
or could this be a love
is
triangle?
I mean, let's take it to a table draft and like figure it out, punch it up.
These
But
are both
I'm
too horny,
proposing-
by the way. These are too horny suggestions. Joe keeps getting
You
everything
cannot
horny.
make a movie with Jason Momoa without
Yeah.
making it horny, okay?
Yeah. Look.
All right.
Look, for a movie with so much water, there's still a lot of thirst in Aquaman. Am I right? I just think, Bill Murray, sort of shooting the whiskey commercial, but Jason Momoa now comes with him, and he's just in a corner, just being like, "Ha, bro, that was a great take." Like, I just think it's gonna be a lot of
you
fun.
don't get the fun of Aquaman. There's not going to be like they can't go underwater. Now he's not. Bill Murray can't breathe underwater.
Well,
we can't
Lost in
get giant
Translation isn't set
seahorse.
underwater; it's set in Tokyo.
I'm just saying you lose
Mike,
a lot of Aquaman fun.
are you-
Inconvenient truth, Hal. It's going to be better when Jason Momoa is giving you emission statistics.
Gotcha. Is Aquaman going to be tooling around with Al Gore at all?
Of course he's going to be tooling. They're going to be in fun. Al Gore is going to be in a boat above water. Aquaman is going to pop out and go, "You got to save the environment, bro." Ha ha. And then he jives back into the water, and we're going to go, "Man, I like that guy, and I like his message."
I disagree. I think it will discredit the message of the film, and I think that it will bring no. I think that
It stinks of
Jason
celebrity
Momoa.
endorsement.
I think Jason Momoa in an Inconvenient Truth, 3? Because they made 2 already. Is like that one sketch from SNL that you can't even be bothered, like on the Sunday morning, you can't even be bothered to click on in your Twitter feed. When they do just like the GIF version of it, and you're like, what is this? It's so easy, low hanging fruit kind of jokes. And I also feel like if we wanted to entice, a broader audience to actually watch Inconvenient Truth, we would just replace Al Gore entirely and maybe put in somebody fun like, Neil Patrick Harris,
Now-
where he does close-up magic. Where he does close-up magic to tell us about the inconvenient truths that are to come.
Now, to sort of echo this SNL comparison, my concern about the Shape of Water change is that it's going to be more like that Whose Line game where you have like the interpreter, and like that's going to be the whole
That's
thing.
very
Where Jason
fun.
Momoa just stands in a corner
It could be
as a
based
Wayne
on
Brady sort of
Cyrano.
type character, and he's like, Shape of Water monster says this. And, I don't know. I think that just halts the movie, really kills your pace every time that Momoa has to step in and be like, "He says you look very nice today." Like, I don't know. It just bothers
That
me.
kills the pace of that movie, besides like the 4 different like B stories that we have to follow through all the other side
Then
characters.
now you got a 5th. Like, oh my God. Just
All right,
have sex with
also,
the fish already.
Momoa Aquaman, he's not the character actor of the Shape of Water cast. Let's be honest.
All right, Julia, let's move to final thoughts. Please lead it off.
I mean, as I mentioned, The Shape of Water got a lot of Oscar attention. I think for a good reason. I think that people were horny for fishes in a way that we've never seen. It's, time is now to be horny for that fish. And I feel like, there is no one hornier than Jason Momoa in that position. We were first introduced to him through Game of Thrones, and we all got horned up for him on land, and now we are horned up it for him in the water, and I feel like you match that with Guillermo del Toro, who is a visionary. So it feels like we're all feeling a little bit smarter watching, but also we are super horned up, and I think that both are equally important to live a full life.
All right, Julia, really leaning into the horned up angle. Mike.
All right, I want you to think about this. This is Inconvenient Truth. This is a movie that we're trying to make better and then save the world. Nothing was relatable, but as we were talking about, Aquaman can talk to sea life. Imagine a scene where Aquaman swims up to a whale. And by the way, where's my camera? Can I get a specific camera? Like, how about this camera right here? Can we switch
JT's
over
not
here?
paying attention.
There we go. Oh, that's Hal.
That's
No,
Hal.
I need to be me, Michael. There's no single of me.
We lost a lot
All
of
right,
budget.
fine. I'll do it to
Can I-
this.
can I go cameraman that?
I'll do it to this.
Can I go point my camera
The
at
most
Mike?
compelling part of this segment.
Don't
Yeah.
do it.
That's fine. I'll do this. Just do it here. Okay. You
We
guys
lost
have
a
to
lot
imagine.
of budget after the whole standing
JT, did you
fiasco.
say yes or no? I could do that. Oh, okay. Mike,
we can?
Mike,
We can?
Mike, I'm going to give you your camera. This is unprecedented. There you go.
All right. Are we on? We're on a single of me. Okay.
Yes.
So imagine. All right. He swims into the water. He's swimming into the water, and a whale is making a cry. It's sad. Okay.
Oh no!
And Aquaman goes up to the whale and he cups his hand to the ear, and he goes, what's that? That's right. Oh no. And he looks over and he goes, she's dying, bro. Hey, you fuck Mike. You screwed it up. Okay, let's do it one more time.
Take it back.
I mean,
Okay. I was
we
trying to
heard
give
the
you a
line.
cool,
We'll edit
bullshit.
this out, obviously, in post, and I'll have a perfect version. She's dying, bro. Just like our planet.
No.
And that's the last thing of the movie,
No.
is that important scene.
All right.
And
MC
so,
Hammer does the end credit song.
and MC Hammer does do the it's Inconvenient Truth rap. And now that movie is so much more memorable. The planet is saved. We're in 2018. It's a whole different ballgame. A vote for me, everyone, is a vote for the planet.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Joe Starr.
You know, I don't think I don't think Inconvenient Truth needs saving. I think Al Gore is a very charismatic gentleman, as you can see on his appearances on South Park and even SNL and stuff like that.
Simpsons?
Yeah, he's a good sport. He can be a very funny guy. I think the idea that he is the stick in the mud that would need Jason Momoa is a part of the right wing media swinging at them when he was running for president. And I think it is just stuck. Sadly, he's been branded as such, but I don't think it's true. The problem with this happening in the Shape of Water is I think having this charisma-powered hunk of man now sort of turn, in the romantic comedy, like the guy who she's currently with, but you're like, why aren't you just with Tom Hanks already? Like you're turning the Shape of Water monster into that bland guy that like isn't very good with her kid.
I'm
and,
horny
like,
either way. I don't understand.
and people just want her to be with Jason Momoa, and they're gonna root against her having sex with that fish. This is the second time today that I've made Dan disappointed with me by referring to this movie over and over again as this Sex with the Fish movie. Dan, I'm gonna make all of this up to you. I swear to God. However, I think you're doing an impossible task, and you're taking what is already a beloved movie in Lost in Translation, and
Yes.
you're cranking it up to 11. I'm not interested in watching Scarlett Johansson walk around and go, oh, a different culture. But Jason Momoa walking around and just being, as Aquaman, walking around and not just being like, that's interesting, thank you so much. Oh, is this for me? Momoa will walk around and be like, that's tight as shit, bro! Like, and just be like really excited and really actively celebratory towards this. And a movie where an aging Bill Murray falls in love with Jason Momoa is not something that we've ever seen before, and I do think it would improve the original Lost in Translation. Plus, in the whisper, Bill Murray would whisper in his ear, and then Jason Momoa would make a dolphin sound in Bill Murray's ear.
That's cute. Time! All right. Wow. Let's find out which of these will
dumb.
hold water. Dan, facts.
Maybe the most important fight we've ever had.
the question.
Yes, sir.
Being asked.
The question asked was, what movie would be most improved by adding Jason Momoa's Aquaman to the cast?
Okay, then that helps me make up my final. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't making my decision based on a false assumption of the question being asked. So I have no facts, but I do have an opinion if you would like to hear it.
All right, sure. Please.
I think that Julia and Joe both pitched very potentially entertaining alternate versions of their films, but I think they both acknowledge that these are good films, that they received attention and recognition. Whereas I think where Mike has the edge for me is it is true. It does seem like even though An Inconvenient Truth was a very revered film and people do like Al Gore, they do have to keep making them. People didn't listen to the movie, and I think that he pitched a great way to improve that film by giving it a relatable element. So that's how I came to my decision based on the question being asked.
Thank you, Dan. I will say, I don't see how Momoa in Lost in Translation would improve it. I think it would just make it like a maybe super weird and fun. But the movies, I don't know. I liked the movie. I liked Sofia Coppola's work, and I didn't think Scarlett Johansson did not bother me as much as it seemed to bothered you. So it really came down to Julia and Mike for me. And Julia, it started to veer a little bit it made sense as far as, they can communicate, he can hear his thoughts, but The Shape of Water Monster's cloaca opened, so he was obviously consensual. He wouldn't open the cloaca,
I would say that there was a power dynamic that he felt too intimidated by.
Oh, this was that woman giving him the eggs?
Yeah.
But you know what? I really saw eye to eye with Dan's reasoning there, and I was thinking the same. That would be maybe the note we need to get this message out there and people acting on it, because the world is going up in smoke. Yeah. 12 years?
I think so, right? 10 to 12 is what they said, to really see some bad things start to happen.
But this is going to get that Green New Deal through, so yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I support it.
So I'm going Mike CARLSON as well, and Mike, you take the point. Danielle, thoughts otherwise?
I would have also went with both of your assessments in that I agreed with Joe that essentially what would have happened is poor Fishman would have turned into the Baxter of his movie, because even when you pitched, I was with you when you said Cyrano, but then it's like, well, then that Cyrano winds up getting the girl. And the silent
but
one.
Cyrano is a classic.
It is a classic.
Listen, I'm horned up either way, as I mentioned, and that's all that matters.
And Smart and Cordy does bring a full life. As much as I want to watch, and I really, really do want to watch Bill Murray and Jason Momoa fall in love, we really need him under the sea. Helping us 20 years ago or whenever that movie came out.
Oh, hell yeah. That's true. So Mike gets the point. By the way, Julia and Joe, your answers just delighted the heck out of me. So we are tied up, and let's go to the tiebreaker. It's a great moment in sports.
Oh, boy.
All
Water
right.
sports.
So, water sports. Thank you, sir.
No!
Okay.
I'm surprised nobody's gone Marco.
Polo.
All right, thank you.
Okay, there we go. So this works the same way the speed round's going to work. I'm going to accept the speed round. We'll have two. This is for all three of you. I will ask the question. Call out your answer. Then we'll allow you to elaborate in the order in which we heard your answers. You'll each get 20 seconds. Then we'll go back around. You'll each get 10 seconds. Okay. You guys ready for this?
Yes.
Let's do it. What movie character would make the best submarine captain? What movie character would make the best submarine captain?
Paddington Bear.
Paddington. Tick-tock and it don't stop.
Commander Data. Lieutenant Commander Data, excuse me.
Okay, Data. He was in a movie.
I'm going to say the dude from The Big Lebowski.
The dude. All right. Bam. We got our 3. We heard Joe first with Paddington. We heard Mike second with Data. We heard Julia third with the dude. 20 seconds begin for Joe Starr whenever he speaks.
You know, sometimes instead of force, a leader needs to lead with a drop of honey, or dare I say, a drop of marmalade. I think Paddington Bear is a nice combination of these two people. He respects order, he respects discipline, he understands that things sort of need to happen a certain way for this ship to operate, but he's also very sweet and chill like the dude, very kind to these people. They'll respect him. You know, he turned...
Time. All right. Mike, Data.
Submarines these days are controlled by mostly Bluetooth. Data is a computer. He can download exactly how to control a submarine, which is harder to drive than a boat. And he knows what to do immediately. He can interface. He doesn't even have to touch the controls. He can just think something and then it happens, folks. He is a living computer. He is like a perfect AI. He can take that boat anywhere. He knows how to use the thing.
Julia.
So submarines, contrasting to ships that are on the sea, don't have to interact with many other humans, so there's probably less stakes with, you know, there being an attack. So the dude is a perfect person. He's just going to have the best life, blissed out, smoking weed. He's going to play, you know, whatever submarine bowl that he's going to create, a bowling game, and he's just going to have his best life, and I want that for the dude.
All right, 10-second rebuttals. Joe Starr.
A robot's instincts are not necessarily going to match the instincts of a very polite British bear in all situations, and you want your Paddington best. This bear turned around a jail and made these people willing to die for this bear to help him escape.
Mike.
Folks, these are two characters with a lot of goof ups. We can't have that when we're under water. Data is a military man. Look, he would look great in a Navy outfit. Come on, let's be honest. Imagine it. It's adorable. Think about it. It's cuter than Paddington.
Paddington is naturally curious, so he's definitely going to open that latch and he's going to kill himself. I feel like a robot underwater is just a disaster waiting to happen. Let's consider any iPhone. Any iPhone. Let's consider any iPhone, even the new ones.
All right. Wow. 3 pretty different captains here. So we are going to pick who does not move on to the speed round. And these were 3 good arguments, a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, Julia, when you said that your captain would be blissed out smoking weed, that does not instill confidence in me for the voyage ahead. And I mean, if I was on the sub, I'd want to hit him up for a little 420 action. But
he doesn't interact with humans, so he doesn't need to be professional.
Oh, there's a crew on the submarine.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Okay, so I'm sadly I have to say Julia. Danielle.
Oh yeah, this was also I'm also on my phone because that's where I put my notes. These were great. For with Mike's argument, I was really wishing someone would hammer back on him about the idea of like just running the sub by himself and not actually having to deal with any of his crew. And yes, you should not get robots wet, I think. Although I feel like Data's gotten wet before.
Data gets wet all the time.
Come on, man, Data.
Why did I phrasing?
I didn't mean it dirty.
So as much as all of these were great arguments, I have to agree with Hal. Just because Julia, I also want to watch him do under the sea bowling, but I don't know if that's what's best for, you know, protecting the oceans.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, did you have a thought?
For the record, Data is an android, not a robot, and he did get he was submersed completely underwater in Star Trek Insurrection, and he was just fine. So Data can go underwater.
Did they do the rice trick with him?
No,
Or is
he's
he good?
perfectly capable of handling underwater.
Listen, y'all,
activities.
tread lightly if you're coming at Dan about Star Trek or Jaws facts, okay?
He's got those on deck.
Thank you, sir. Indeed. Julia, you brought it today. You were entertaining as hell, and
Thank you.
Yes.
but sadly, you will not move on to the speed
right.
round. But I will maybe come to you for some thoughts and opinions here. Great.
Should I leave?
No,
No,
please
no,
stay.
no,
stay.
Yes.
I've done this before, but I always
we are
feel
better
like I need
for
to
your
leave.
presence.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, we're moving on to the speed round. It works just like the tie break we just did, and we will find out who is going to take the day. It's 1-1. The tiebreaker did not count
It's the
for any
deep end,
points. Yeah. Ooh. We're far from the shallows now, to
That's
quote
right.
Lady Gaga.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Question 1 of the speed round. Joe Starr, Mike CARLSON. What is the best movie fish or sea creature?
Flounder.
The crocodile and Peter Pan.
Croc from Pan. We heard Flounder first from Joe. 20 seconds begin whenever you speak.
Usually everyone's favorite character in a movie is that cool best friend character, and that's Flounder. He's just this solid number 2 to Ariel. He's a great wingman. He's there to help. He's never really there to hinder. He's there to help her live her best life. He has some great lines, some funny songs. He's a very adorable design, so you've got that going. He turns into a great plush, and he's just also a great balance to Sebastian.
The Croc is also a great plush. It's a better plush, I would argue, than Flounder. Flounder is like the 10th best character in The Little Mermaid. The crocodile is the original Jaws, people. Jaws wouldn't exist if it weren't for this crocodile. The crocodile is the scariest part of the movie. You're waiting for him to come back. He's literally a ticking clock. It is like the best, like Chekhov's gun of any movie. He is so...
I think the fear factor in the Croc is taken away from the fact that most of the time he's like this. And he's always sort of smiling and happy, and it sort of takes the fear away. Whereas Flounder's just this really chill best friend. You're like, I want to be a mermaid so I can hang out with Flounder.
The crocodile having a sense of humor adds to it. We don't want to see some grim croc. It makes it more sinister that he likes to have fun and he wants to eat Captain Hook. Flounder, it doesn't even sing a song. He just like rubs that thing on his... he gets rubbed... You know what I'm talking about, the butt thing.
The butt thing.
Woo, two very different choices. Dan Murrell.
You're right. Two very different choices. I think I'm going to give the edge to Mike, but just barely. I think he knocked down Joe about the importance of Flounder. He doesn't see there are other people in the movie who hold greater import, whereas the Croc, I think Joe tried to reframe it as a scary argument. Mike, I thought, fought well against that, so my vote's going to go with Mike.
You know what? I'm also going to go for Mike, especially because, man, when you reference Chekhov's gun, when you use a theatrical reference like that, the gun must be fired. Once it comes out, it must be fired.
The Croc must eat.
That just spoke to me.
I agree with you, Hal. I just want to follow up.
Julia.
Which Peter Pan adaptation are you referring to?
The Disney one.
Okay, all right, because there was a Hook and there was a modern Peter Pan, and
Sure.
I just feel like we needed that. The audience needed that.
That's
All
fair.
right. So it is 2-1 Mike. Let's go to question number 2 of the speed round. What actor would give the best performance as a shark via motion capture? Best mocap shark.
Bill Hader.
Wallace Shawn.
Bill Hader. Wallace Shawn. We heard Hader first. Joe STARR.
I think mocap is sort of a two-pronged attack. You need a great voice actor and you need a great physical actor. Bill Hader knocks it out of the park with both of those. He's very serpentine in his movements, just like you need to be when you put on that lithe little like suit that you have to wear to do mocap. Also, he can do a variety of voices that are just going to nail it depending on what kind of shark you need. He can do scary shark, he can do friendly shark, he can do drunk shark, he can do happy shark, he can do sad shark.
Wallace Shawn plays a dinosaur in Toy Story. It's fantastic. He is one of the quirkiest, if not the quirkiest character actor of all time. He is going to bring something unusual and animal-like to a shark, and he's going to be a nice shark. Sharks don't have to be mean. Once we actually get to see and find their personality, we find that this is a very nice shark. And Wallace Shawn is so endearing, he's so wonderful, he is so lovable that he is going to bring the most heart and humanity.
Bill Hader brings a level of endearingness to all of his characters, whether it's Stefan or whether it's Barry, and I think he would really knock that out of the park. And, you know, Wallace Shawn has had his days. He's done voices for a long time. This is the Bill Hader-sance that we're in. And,
Bill Hader would lose an endearing contest with Wallace Shawn. Let's be very honest, folks. Wallace Shawn is so much more endearing. Imagine him with a fin on his head. Imagine Wallace Shawn with a fin on his head.
Repeating
All right.
it doesn't make it better.
You did that earlier.
I know.
Okay.
I'm stealing from you.
I got to give it to Mike when it comes to endearing, but I got to give it to Joe when it comes to everything else. Joe STARR takes it from me. Danielle.
Oh, both great arguments, but we didn't say exactly what kind of shark it was going to be. There was this endearing versus endearing argument, but ultimately, Joe had it for me when he said that it is true. Bill Hader can do a variety of different kinds of sharks. He can give a bunch of different performances. As much as I love Wallace Shawn, he's definitely he is Wallace Shawn and everything, whereas Bill Hader can be whatever kind of shark we need to be.
And it is the Bill Hader song, so you were right.
Right. Julia, would you have had a choice on this?
I would say Bill Hader. I mean,
did an actor come into your head when you asked the question?
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, I feel like he would bring some gravitas to the role.
Right
It would be a very
on.
sinister shark.
I'm going to be a real basic and say Andy Serkis. Okay, here we go. It is, wow, we are locked up at 2-2.
So exciting.
If the creature from The Shape of Water had dialogue, what actor should have provided the voice? The voice of the creature of The Shape of Water.
Tom Bergeron.
Tom Bergeron, the host of Hollywood Squares,
That's right.
etc. Okay. And America's Home Videos. Okay.
My mom's met him. She says he's nice.
Mom's crushing on Tom B.
Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers.
Okay,
You didn't need to
Bronson
clarify.
Pinchot.
Just for some of the younger folks out there.
Cousin Balky, also in True Romance. Bronson Pinchot.
He was on a lot of reality shows, too, on VH1 in the 90s.
Okay. We heard Tom Bergeron first. Joe Starr.
did. I think there was a mainstream barrier of entry to Shape of Water, especially for older audiences, and I think Tom Bergeron, the greatest host in television history, is what fixes that. You give that weird fish the voice of Tom Bergeron, and all of a sudden your mom and your grandparents are like, what's this movie? Tom Bergeron's on. I love him with Dancing with the Stars. And they come in and see it. It becomes much more of a box office hit. It solves a lot of Academy problems with them being like, oh, just movies that don't make any money win Academy Awards.
I think with Bergeron, you're getting something that feels too familiar. This is an animal that lives somewhere close to us. We want to get the sense that it's from a faraway place, which is why Bronson Pinchot doing his Balky voice from Perfect Strangers is the perfect choice for this. This is an accent. This is something that will make people feel like, oh, the underwater is a faraway place. This isn't America. This is another thing. It will give another dimension to the
I think one of the themes of Shape of Water is that we're more similar than we are different, and Tom Bergeron gives that feeling of familiarity and similarity. I can see why she would fall in love with a fish man with the voice of Tom Bergeron. It's a great voice, it's a friendly voice, it's an inviting voice.
The Balky voice is fun, and we want that character to be fun. We don't want him to be a boring, dry game show host. We want that character. He looks fun. He needs to sound fun. Bronson Pinchot, Balky voice.
All right. Dan Murrell.
This is fun.
That sigh says Dan did not care for either of these choices.
No, it's
Okay.
just so many of my favorite movies today. Why today?
Oh, yeah.
I think Joe won me over with the argument that is very closely tied to the movie, that we are more alike than we are different. And I felt like Joe's pick was in keeping in that spirit, and Mike's pick was in going with the differences. And I thought that was a very smart counter argument from Joe, so I would go with Joe and Tom Bergeron.
You know what? I had kind of the flip of that. Mike's argument spoke most to me, even though Joe's counter was somewhat effective. I thought just this fish was an outsider, a stranger, a perfect stranger, if you will, in this world. And I just, as soon as he said the Balky voice, I heard it because I'm a child of the 80s and I saw the show and know it. So I'm going Mike. Danielle.
I absolutely have to agree with Dan. It was the theme argument for me as well. There are more things that bring us together than tear us apart. Plus, also, I'm sorry, I don't want to see Balky's cloaca. I don't. I can't.
All right. Joe Starr pulls into the lead. It's 3-2. This is game point for Mr. Joe Starr. Mike, you need this one to keep her going.
All right.
Who's the best movie pirate?
Ooh.
Best movie pirate. Who is it?
Captain Hook.
Captain Hook.
Disney Captain Hook.
Thank you.
Great. Joe Starr.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the Dread Pirate Roberts, Wesley.
All right, Dread Pirate Roberts, Wesley. Mike, you spoke first. Begin whenever you're ready.
Captain Hook, one of the most iconic villains of all time. We've seen him in so many different forms of media because the character looms so large and he is scary. He is the sort of the personification. Let me tell you a story. I was a little kid. I saw Peter Pan. Captain Hook was the scariest guy. He was this one I was afraid of the most. This speaks to how scary and evil the character is and how much he has an
Dread Pirate Roberts is not just one guy, it's a legacy character of guy. Like, people have passed the mantle. That's how scary that this pirate is. Is that it literally crosses generations to generations. Wesley is also like a morally complex guy. He's scary, he's a murderer, but he's also in love. You can't fault him for that. Yeah, he pirates, he plunders, but he also follows his heart. He's a cool sword fighter.
Captain Hook makes a great plush, and he's also a great sword fighter, folks. This is a villain who has done, first of all, accomplishments. He has done so much more than Dread Pirate Roberts. He has a mand of bad guys that...
Wesley as Roberts became a scourge of the sea, and then he became a scourge of this kingdom with some of the all-time greatest monologues, badass moments. He actually died and came back for the life. That's a pretty boss pirate. He stole his life back from death.
Time. All right. Daniel Radford.
This is really, again, amazing arguments today. It's as much as I do love plushes, and we have referenced them way more than I would have thought in any fight, really. You know, the arguments about Mike's argument, which was great about how many times Captain Hook has shown up, was easily bested by Joe's argument about Dread Pirate Roberts being a legacy character, and then just dying and coming back to life. And not only being a scourge of the sea, but a scourge of the land. I gotta go with Joe.
You know what? For everything Danielle said, I concur. Joe Starr, you take that point. You take the day.
Sir.
Wow, well fought, everybody. Nicely done. Joe Starr, you just won aquatic movie fights. What are you going to do next?
I am going to go to Long Beach. I'm going to rent one of those little pontoon boats that you can get a lot of people on for, $50.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run over as many fishing lines as I can while I get drunk.
Joe, well fought, everybody. Nicely done. Do you want to give any shout-outs? Tell us where we can find you.
You guys know where you can find me. I just, as usual, want to give a shout-out to these two, legitimately two of the funniest people I know, and it's always really fun to be able to do this show and anything else with you guys. So yeah, this was fun.
For sure. Mike CARLSON, awesome. You pushed it to the limit here.
Thank you.
Thoughts, shout-outs.
Shout out to these two very funny people. I would also, I feel like a shithead plugging my own podcast after he just plugged my abilities as a human being. But it's Podcast the Ride. I'll do it anyway. Yeah. It's about theme parks. It's a podcast. And now we have a Patreon. So go to @Podcast the Ride, Twitter. It's all fun. We'll have, everybody who's going to be on it. We've had Julia on to talk just the mall outside of Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
So that's the type.
Is it a mall? Yeah.
That's the type of specificity you're gonna get. And we put up a Patreon episode just about Botanicus, where I have an email correspondence with the creator, William Kotzwinkle.
And you have a great piece of merch in your merch store right now.
Oh yes, we created a character on the episode called Botanicus. And he is like a 420 version of Botanicus, and there's a shirt now that exists.
I have the cell phone case
Super cool.
for it.
Yeah, so
If you ever want to talk about Guntown Mountain in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh,
Guntown,
yes.
oh, that sounds great.
Yeah,
We
which
should do
was
that.
going to be Funtown Mountain, and now we don't know what it's going to be.
Oh my.
I once took a hallucinogenic at a water park. Julia Prescott. That was in college.
Yeah, you can find me at Julia Prescott on all the things. Listen to Everything's Coming Up Simpsons.
Yes.
We're on Max Fun. In the recent episodes, we've had Maurice LaMarche. We had Al Jean on for his second episode talking about the Gary Shandling show. And we're going to have more Simpsons showrunners, but then also comedians and creators and all that good stuff. And then also, I made a show called Townies. It's the OC in the Old West. So if you like horny teens, which you know I do, based on this conversation today, you can go check out The Horny Teens of the Old West. It's on Black Pills. You can download it on your phone. All of first season. John Ennis is in it. Natalie Palamides. A whole bunch of people.
Oh, yeah. Very funny people.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thanks, Julia. Dan Murrell, thank you for holding it down. And you know what? I think I speak for the entire internet when seeing you get a little bit mad at Joe's answers is nothing short of delightful.
It wasn't his answer, Hal. It was how he fought it.
Yes.
It's two completely different things.
Wow.
Even worse
That's like
and
saying
more
I'm not-
cutting.
That's like saying I'm not mad, I'm
I'm
disappointed.
not mad. I'm disappointed.
But disappointed Dan Murrell is a great flavor
good.
of Murrell.
Okay.
Now when it's
You're the
focused
only
on you.
person that's ever said that to me, Hal. But
It
thank
is
you.
the pumpkin spice of Murrell.
Dan, thank you for just bringing that. Danielle Radford.
Hello. As per usual, find me on Twitter. I've got a Patreon. We do fun things there. Why that accent? But we do fun things on my Patreon. So go find me
I
there.
think that's how Kermit the Frog was talking in the music
How
video.
dare you? How dare you?
I'm gonna echo that. How dare you? But that was a sweet dunk. So I'm split.
Hey, Piggy, what to go on there?
No.
Give me the
Ross
patties
Trent.
and the peas and rice.
Nope. Nope.
Pre-tapes have made me lose my mind.
Yeah, it's been a long couple of weeks, Hal.
Danielle, thank you so much, and everybody loves cracking up Danielle. That's a good speed of Danielle. You guys, thanks for. I think I laughed the most in this episode. This mission accomplished there, and thank you. Thank you for watching Movie Fights. Please hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. We'll talk stupid stuff, and we'll talk owls. #OwlNation. Percival the owl. What a nice little owl fella. Thank you, Billy Biz. Thank you, JTE. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.